We're glad you're back.
Yeah.
All right. Janice, just let me know when you want to start.
Whenever you're ready, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Recording is going.
All right. Sounds good. Well, I would like to call our Riverside County Habitat Conservation Agency Board of Directors meeting to order for Thursday, May 20th, 2021. We are participating in our virtual meeting. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Before we begin, please be sure to silence your other communication devices, such as your cell or desk phones. This will ensure that we are not hearing any feedback or causing interruptions during the meeting. During the meeting, all participants except for the presenter and myself will be placed on mute. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes.
Okay, and we will begin today with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I've asked Board Member Marabino from Wildemar if he'd be willing to do that.
All righty then. Hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Joseph. Janice, will you please conduct roll call?
Absolutely. And as I call your jurisdiction, if you would please be so kind as to state your name. If I just see your name in a box, you will not be counted as present. So please state your name. City of Corona.
Here, Tom Richin, City of Corona.
Hemet.
Russ Brown here.
Lake Elsinore.
Steve Manos, Lake Elsinore.
Menifee.
Lisa. So
Moreno Valley.
David Marquez, Moreno Valley.
Murrieta.
Lisa DeForest, Marietta.
Paris.
Paris, Michael Vargas.
Riverside.
Andy Melendrez, City of Riverside.
Temecula.
Marianne Edwards, Temecula.
Wildemar.
Joseph Morabito, Wildemar.
And County of Riverside.
Jeff Hewitt, County of
Thank-
Riverside here.
Thank you all. That concludes roll call, and we do have quorum, all present.
thank you. So at this time, and it's great that everyone can make it today. So at this time, I like to call the meeting to order, even though we are now going to recess to the RCHC Board of Directors meeting to convene the meeting of the Riverside Community Partnerships Project Board of Directors. And we'll then reconvene the RCA Board of Directors meeting at the adjournment of the Riverside Community Partners Project Board of Directors meeting. So at this time, I like to call the meeting to order. Even though we just took roll call, we are now in another meeting and we will need to take roll call. So Janice, will you please conduct roll call again?
Absolutely. City of Corona.
Tom Richins here again.
Hemet.
Russ Brown still here.
Lake Elsinore.
Steve Manos, Lake Elsinore.
Menifee.
Lisa Sobek here.
Moreno Valley.
David Marquez, Moreno Valley.
Murrieta.
Lisa DeForest, Marietta.
Paris.
Michael Vargas, Paris.
Riverside.
Andy Melendrez, City of Riverside.
Temecula.
Marianne, are you still here? Yeah, she's still here.
Thank you, ma'am. Wildemar.
Joseph Morabito,
And
Wildemar.
County of Riverside.
And Jeff Hewitt still here too.
Thank you. That concludes roll call, and we have quorum.
Thank you. So at this time, we'll go to public comments. And so at this time, members of the public can address the board regarding any items listed on this agenda. Members of the public will have an opportunity to speak on agendized items at the time the item is called for discussion. No action may be taken on items not listed on the agenda unless authorized by the law. Whenever possible, lengthy testimony should be presented to the board in writing and only pertinent points presented orally. For guest speakers or public comments, please adhere to the speaker time limit of 3 minutes. Please treat others with courtesy and civility and respect the public meeting process. Janice, are there any public comments?
I have no requests, and I see no hands raised.
Okay. All right, so we'll go to the consent and policy calendar. All items listed on the consent and policy calendar are considered to be routine may be enacted by one motion. Prior to the motion to consider any action by the board, any public comments on any of the consent items will be heard. Can I get a motion? And a
Move to approve, Paris.
Second, Temecula.
Okay, great. So Janice, will you please conduct a roll call?
Certainly. City of Corona,
Yes.
Hemet,
Yes.
Lake Elsinore,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Moreno Valley,
Yes.
Murrieta,
Yes.
Paris,
Yes.
Riverside,
Yes.
Temecula.
Aye.
Wildemar,
Yes.
and County of Riverside.
Yes, although I do have a question as to what capacity we're voting on this. We're on two different boards right now.
We have called to order the meeting of the Riverside Communities Partnership Project. As soon as we are finished with this meeting, we will go back into the meeting of the RCHCA Board of Directors.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
You're quite welcome. That concludes roll call and it passes unanimously.
Thank you, Janice. We will move to item 5, items for the future agendas. Are there any requests for items for future agendas? Hearing none, we'll move to item number 6, general announcements. Does any board member have a general announcement for a nonprofit? Okay, I can't see if there's any hands. So Janice, if you'll let me know if there's any hands raised.
Absolutely, and I see no requests.
Thank you so much. So we will move to item 7, the next meeting of the RCPP Board of Directors meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 19th, 2022 at 11:30 a.m. We will adjourn the meeting of the RCPP Board of Directors and reconvene the meeting of the RCHC Board of Directors. Okay, so now we're in our regular meeting and we're going to move to public comment on our regular meeting. So at this time, again, members of the public can address the board regarding any items listed on this agenda. Members of the public will have an opportunity to speak on agendized items at the time the item is called for discussion. No action may be taken on items not listed on the agenda unless authorized by law. Whenever possible, lengthy testimony should be presented to the board in writing and only pertinent points presented orally. For guest speakers or public comments, please adhere to the speaker time of 3 minutes. Please treat each other with courtesy, civility, and respect for this public meeting. Janice, are there any public comments today?
I have no requests and I see no hands raised.
Thank you. We will move to item 5, consent and policy calendar. Okay, all items listed on the consent and policy calendar are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. Prior to the motion to consider any action by the board, any public comments on any of the consent items will be heard. Does anyone wish to pull any of the consent items for discussion?
I see no requests.
Excuse me?
I see no requests. No.
Okay, thank you. Then can I get a motion in a second?
Move approve.
Second,
Lake Elsinore.
Temecula.
The Lake Elsinore approved. Who was the second?
Temecula.
Temecula, Marianne, thank you. So Janice, will you please conduct the roll call?
Of course, City of Corona,
Corona, aye.
Hemet,
Yes.
Lake Elsinore,
Aye.
Menifee,
Aye.
Moreno Valley,
Yes.
Murrieta,
Yes.
Paris,
Yes.
Riverside,
Yes.
Temecula,
Aye.
Wildemar,
Yes.
and County of Riverside.
Yes.
That concludes roll call and it passes unanimously.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to move to item 6, reports and discussions. So item 6A is an update by Princess Hester on staff efforts and meeting to discuss opportunities regarding species recovery efforts for the Stevenson kangaroo rat.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Princess Hester, and I am the Director of Administrative Services for the Western Riverside Council of Governments. And today I'm bringing you a report on item 6A, which is a status update on Stevens kangaroo rat recovery efforts. In September of 2020, the United States Fish and Wildlife Service published the proposed rule to reclassify SKR from endangered to threatened. And that proposed rule had a section 4D rule, which is actually some regulations that work in our favor as land management. It allows us to be able to do land management activities that are necessary for the benefit of the species without having special considerations from Fish and Wildlife Service for those activities. And so currently, U.S. Fish and Wildlife has reviewed the proposed rule. It was, they were taking under consideration the public comments that have been made. And in addition to that, they have added the technological advances that have been implemented by the RCHCA, and they are including those in the status assessment for SKR and also in the final rule. And those technological advances you guys have been hearing about, and you'll hear more about them today. One being implementation of the habitat suitability model, and the other one is some of the techniques that we're using in the range-wide management and monitoring protocol. So the final rule has been reviewed by the Carlsbad office, and those public comments and technological advances have been addressed in that rule, and it has been forwarded to Sacramento, which is headquarters, for what's called spectator review. And what that means is just the legal side of Fish and Wildlife and Department of Interior will review those comments and information in that proposed rule. And we've been notified that after their final review and approval, that this final rule should publish September 30th, 2021, no later than September 30th. And so that's the end of the federal fiscal year. And what we will do is I will work with your Director Brian Shomo and also your program manager, Rihanna Fisher, to get some meetings with the Sacramento office just to make sure that they stay on target, you know, that they don't change anything and that they actually meet their obligation of what, you know, what they said that they would do. And that is publish that final rule by September 30th. So hoping that just before you guys come back for your next board meeting, that rule would have published and we will have some definite celebratory moments to be able to take as an agency.
Great.
And with that, that concludes my report on item 6A, and I would entertain any questions you have right now.
Any questions?
I see no hands raised.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Princess. Here we thought when it got approved, we were going to get that right away, and here it's going to take about a year process. So
yeah,
I guess we just need to be a little patient.
A little bit.
Can I ask one question, Lisa?
Yes.
Princess, have we seen any personnel changes in the Sacramento office of Fish and Wildlife?
We have.
Did
Yes,
my buddy leave?
Mike Freeze left. Yes, he did. But I'm still in contact with April Evans. You remember her?
Yes, I do.
So she's still there, fortunately, because she is really going to be our liaison in that office. We reached out to her last week. There were some challenges as it related to COVID. And so, but last week we reached out to her and she is currently reviewing Paul Souza's calendar and the new Michael. His name is also Michael. I just can't remember his last name right now, so forgive me for that.
Michael number 2.
Michael number 2. And so she's reviewing their calendar. So we're going to get on their calendar and we will have our chair and vice chair along with Brian and Rihanna and Chris Gray. And we will meet with them to just share with them some of the great work that we've done through COVID. We've implemented a couple of major projects. And so we want to share with them what we've done and actually, you know, thank them for implementing the technological things that we've created, and then to just make sure that it goes on to be finally published in the Federal Register. So
okay,
more
great.
information to come.
I remember her being very receptive and very positive when we were there.
Yes.
Okay, that's
Very
great.
so. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, so on that, we kind of, if does any other board, should we go back to any public comment first and then move forward if there's any other board members that have questions?
No, ma'am, it's a receive and file, but if anyone has any questions, I will answer their questions. Otherwise, we can move to the next item.
Okay, we didn't, but is there any public that have any
Oh,
comments? That's what I need to know.
I see no requests.
Thank you. And then any other board members? Okay, we'll receive and file, and we'll move to item 6B is a presentation again by Princess Hester with information and a request to adopt a resolution recognizing May 2021, which you all should have heard about as Conservation Appreciation Month. And if you haven't had a chance, Princess is probably going to spoil some things. Make sure you go and like their Facebook page and watch some of the videos. So I'll turn over to Princess.
Thank you, ma'am. Again, Princess Hester, Director of, gosh, I seem to get my title mixed up. Anyway, Princess Hester, and I am presenting item 6B, Conservation Appreciation Month. And we are proud to announce that 2021 marks RCHCA's 25th anniversary. You know, this is the 25th anniversary for conservation efforts. You know, a lot of you know that the actual agency was brought up in 1991, but it took some years to actually get the agency established. But in 1996 is when we actually received our federal permit, and we also received the finalization of the implementation agreement. So we mark 1996 as sort of our invocation year. And we definitely, this year, we are celebrating Conservation Appreciation Month. We have done a round of visits, and we thank you so much for all of you accepting us at your illustrious cities and passing the proclamations to declare May as Conservation Appreciation Month. And we definitely want to recognize, you know, the pioneers that came before us. There was a lot of work that went into this program to lift it to what it is today. And so we definitely want to recognize them, because if not for the vision and the forethought for them, then some of the things that we're doing today would not be possible. There is a huge calendar of events, virtual events for May. Normally this year, we would have held our Celebrating Endangered Species events. This week is leading up to Endangered Species Day, which is May 21st. So there's some events there on the calendar, some videos that you can go see. So you can see your RCHCA staff expressing videos and showing you some really fun things on critters and different things. We also have some podcasts that we've done to identify the achievements in species recovery. You know, SKR is a candidate now for downlisting. We've established a public access plan on our conserved lands. We've established the SKR range-wide management and monitoring plan, implementation of adaptive management, and definitely our education and volunteer outreach. And I'll tell all of you guys that none of those things would not be possible if it weren't for your support and your faith in us in order to bring these programs forward. And so another event that we have is on May 27th, we are hosting a Future Forward. The title of that episode will be The Past, Present, and Future of Conservation in Riverside County. One of the things that we do firmly believe is that in order for conservation efforts to continue to be successful in this county, we definitely have to collaborate, and we have to work together to start to begin to identify and share resources. And so at that Future Forward, you'll hear more about it as time goes on, but we have our Director Brian Shomo is going to talk about some of the conservation efforts and adaptive management techniques that he's implemented over the years. We have Dr. Edie Allen from UCR, who's done some great research projects with us. We also have Dr. Wayne Spencer, who was the developer and assisted us with our habitat suitability model. And we have Tricia Campbell from the RCA, who is their Director of Natural Resources there. And we're beginning to, you know, have conversations of collaborations. And so we'd like for you to all tune in for the Future Forward on May 27th. And again, there is a host of calendar events. And if you go to our webpage, you can click on this Conservation Appreciation Month banner, and it'll take you to the calendar of all the events. They are all there. They will remain there. And so that'll give you time to take a look and see all of the things that we've done virtually this month. It has been a very fun month and a lot of information. And so we're just very proud about it. And with that, I would like to now present to you our 25th anniversary partnership video.
Hi, Hi, I'm Lisa Sobek, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Menifee and Chairperson of the Riverside County Habitat Conservation Agency. The RCHCA is a joint powers authority consisting of cities of Corona, Hemet, Lake Elsinore, Menifee, Moreno Valley, Marietta, Paris, Riverside, Temecula, Wildomar, and the County of Riverside. This agency is responsible for managing conserved lands for the endangered Stevens kangaroo rat. I am proud to announce commemorates RCHCA's 25th year. We are extremely proud of our achievements in species recovery. At this monumental junction, we would like to recognize the original architects of the RCHCA. They are true pioneers that built a solid foundation of conservation excellence. Our achievements in species recovery includes making the Stevens kangaroo rat a candidate for downlisting and several other milestones, such as the region's first ever public access plan on conserved lands, establishment of a wide range management and monitoring plan, implementation of adaptive management, and our support of community engagement through volunteerism and education outreach. Our ambitious environmental efforts provide a pathway to balance wildlife conservation protection of threatened and endangered species and the ecosystem, all while streamlining in the process to support economic development within our county. Please join us in recognizing May 2021 as Conservation Appreciation Month as we celebrate RCHCA's 25th anniversary. Congratulations, team.
On behalf of the Carlsbad Fish and Wildlife Office, I'm delighted to recognize the 25th anniversary of the RCHCA and its efforts to conserve the Stevens kangaroo rat. Our partnership with the RCHCA has been invaluable to the conservation of the Stevens kangaroo rat. Their stewardship of the lands and support for recovery efforts have helped improve the status of this species and played an important role in our 2020 proposal to reclassify this kangaroo rat from endangered to threatened. We look forward to the next 25 years of conservation with our partners at RCHCA. Congratulations.
Happy birthday, RCHCA.
I want to congratulate the Riverside County Habitat Conservation Agency on celebrating 25 years of protecting our environment and our quality of life.
Congratulations to the RCHCA for 25 years of conservation excellence.
Hi, I'm Terry Biancardi.
And I'm Jack Learned.
And we're here in the meadow wishing the RCHCA a very happy 25th birthday. We have cherished our relationship with RCHCA.
And with the help of AmeriCorps, we're able to create all this.
I'm Rachel Chalk with the San Diego Zoo. Our team has been working with RCHCA for over a decade on Stevens kangaroo rat research. We've worked on behavioral studies, improving translocation success, habitat management, and the management and monitoring program for the species. We're currently working on a range-wide landscape-level genetics study right now. Congratulations to RCHCA on your anniversary. We're looking forward to the next 25 years.
Hello, this is George and Mike with Riverside County Department of Waste Resources, congratulating Riverside County Habitat Conservation Agency, wishing you many more years of success.
Hey, I just wanted to say congratulations to the Riverside County Habitat Conservation Agency. It's your 25th anniversary. You've done a great job in setting aside about 40,000 acres for the endangered SKR, and not just conserving the lands, but also restoring the lands using a lot of cutting-edge techniques and just a lot of hard elbow grease. So great job, everybody. I look forward to seeing what you can do in the next 2.5 decades. And what's next, huh?
Happy 25th anniversary to RCHCA from the Energy Coalition.
All righty, and with that, that concludes my report. I will ask you to adopt resolution number 2021-02, which is a resolution of the RCHCA Board of Directors recognizing May 2021 as Conservation Appreciation Month.
Move approval, Temecula.
Second, Moreno Valley.
Awesome.
Would you, we kind of skipped a few things. Do you want to do a roll call or should we wait and try to see if there's any public questions or comments first?
Well, I see no requests, no hands raised.
Okay. Any board members before we take a vote?
I see no requests.
Okay. All right. Now we have a motion and we have a second. So Janice, would you do roll call?
Certainly. Corona.
Corona, aye.
Hemet.
Yes.
Lake Elsinore.
Yes.
Menifee.
Yes.
Moreno Valley.
Yes.
Murrieta.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Riverside. City of Riverside. Temecula.
Aye.
Wildemar.
Yes.
And County of Riverside.
Yes.
That concludes the roll call vote and it passes unanimously.
Thank you everyone for your vote. And I just want to thank Princess and her team for working so hard on that video and for all of those who contributed. I did want to mention that on the calendar, if you haven't had a chance to see it, today is Wild Critters video. There's a wonderful video about a roadrunner, and Rihanna captured a really great little exhibit of a roadrunner. So if you get a chance, check that out on that conservation calendar. All right, we are going to move now to item C. 6C is a presentation by Brian Schirmal, and with request to approve the fiscal year 2021-22 agency budget, which we know we're all in the budget cycles. So Brian.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the board. I'm Brian Schirmal, the RCHCA's director, and item 6C before you is the approval of the fiscal year 2021-22 agency budget. Just before we begin, in fiscal year 2020-21, RCHCA anticipated about a 20% decline in fee revenue. Fortunately, we did not see that decline, and the fee collection was minimally impacted by COVID-19. Current revenue is exceeding last year's projections. That being said, the RCHCA's budget is really in two parts: the general operations and the Lake Matthews operations. The general operations revenue sources include mitigation fee transfers from your jurisdictions on assessed on development projects, interest earned, and general revenue we receive through those contract obligations you'll hear about in a future presentation here. In 2021, RCHCA is also anticipating adding an open space habitat technician to support the Lake Matthews Reserve, and also to help us implement the SKR range-wide recovery management and monitoring plan, which will require extensive monitoring going forward. Expenditures from the general fund include administrative salary and benefits, general operations, land management for RCHCA owned lands, and educational outreach and program improvements that are not covered by the endowment funds. Revenue in the general operations budget is projected to be approximately 1.5 million against expenditures of approximately 1.5 million. The Lake Matthews Reserve operation, the second part of the budget, is funded strictly by the endowments and contractual agreements, which support the salary and benefits of mostly the Lake Matthews Reserve staff, some land management activities, biological surveys, some research programs, and community outreach specific to the reserve. Revenue is projected to be approximately 532,000 against expenditures of about 507,000. So RCHCA, some of the highlights of this year that we're anticipating working on and completing is the public access plan for the Steel Peak Reserve. RCHCA is set to receive the CNRA grant of $600,000 to build out the Steel Peak inaugural trail. Staff are also implementing the SKR range-wide management and monitoring plan, and we'll get to that in the next part of the presentation, which is included in this year's annual budget, and for which the RCHCA will be receiving about $190,000 from the Bureau of Land Management to assist with that implementation. In summary, the staff presents a balanced budget with an overall increase of approximately 31%. Staff will provide regular updates to the board throughout the fiscal year and closely monitor revenues and expenditures going forward to ensure that we achieve our fiscal goals. Revenues in excess of expenditures will be allocated to decrease endowment and draws and increase agency reserves. And at that point, I would request the action to be to adopt the resolution number 2021-01 and adopt the fiscal year 2021-22 agency budget. And I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Brian. Before we take a vote, we will see if there's any public comments or questions from the public.
I have no requests.
And then do any board members at this point? I see a hand up by Joseph.
Yeah, I saw the part about 31% expenditures increase, and I hope that I didn't miss it through the Zoom format. But so how are where's the additional coming from to pay for that?
So previously, in the 2021 budget, we decreased it by 20%, anticipating impacts from COVID. So that's the majority of the increase. It's just getting back to where we normally were. In addition to that, we are anticipating hiring that open space habitat tech position in order to help us implement a range-wide plan, additional monitoring role, and also to help at the Lake Matthews Reserve. Additionally, at the end, you'll see that we're also promoting staff analyst, Rihanna, to a program manager level to backfill some of the roles Princess has previously done in her capacity as the Director of Administrative Services for the RCHCA. Also, we are increasing our legal expenses. You'll see that one line item. We've about doubled our legal expenses. And we did that because we anticipate a lot of CEQA review and stuff to open up the Steel Peak Public Access Trail. We also anticipate selling the County of Riverside the riparian easements. And so that'll require a little bit further legal expenses. And so all that adds up to that additional 11% above the former 20% that we reduced revenue last year, or we reduced the budget last year.
Brian, I just wanted to add for everyone's benefit. Hi, I'm Chris Gray, Deputy Executive Director of WRCOG. Many agencies, including WRCOG, presumed that with COVID, we would see a decline in development activity and therefore a decline in any impact or mitigation fees. In fact, both fees for the SKR and TUMP and other impact fee programs we've been monitoring have shown no drop off. So really, it's a reflection that development continues apace. COVID does not seem to be impacting at this time the level of land development, which is, as I said, many agencies proactively adjusted their fee revenues, which turned out for everyone's benefit did not occur.
If I may also add, good afternoon, everyone. Andrew Reese, CFO with WRCOG. Mr. Morbido, you had mentioned a 31% increase in expenditures, but there is also an increase in revenues to balance that out as well. And what will actually happen as we do our fourth quarter budget amendment is we'll be truing up our revenues. So that 30% difference in budget of this year, our final budget will actually be much closer to this upcoming fiscal year's budget once everything's amended and we've trued up the revenues, because we expect the revenues to exceed our budgeted amount in this fiscal year.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for answering that. Any other questions from any other board members?
Move to approve, Paris.
Okay. Mike Vargas?
Yes.
I didn't hear what you said, excuse me.
Move to approve staff's recommendation.
All right, Mike Vargas moves to approve. Do we have a second?
Second,
Lake Elsner.
Lake Elsner, second. So Janice, will you please take roll call vote?
City Corona.
Corona, aye.
Hemet.
Yes.
Lake Elsinore.
Aye.
Menifee.
Aye.
Moreno Valley.
Yes.
Murrieta.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Riverside.
Yes.
Temecula.
Aye.
Wildemar.
Yes.
And County of Riverside.
Yes.
That concludes the roll call vote for that item, and it passes unanimously.
Thank you, Janice. So we'll go to 6D. Item 6D is a presentation by Brian Shermill again with a status update on the range-wide management and monitoring plan for the Stevens Kangaroo Rat.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, my name is Brian Shomo, and I'll be presenting item 6D, the SKR range-wide management and monitoring plan. And we'll try to keep this at a real high level. And if you guys want to get into the weeds with it, I'm more than happy to entertain it. But hopefully there'll be a little bit of questions at the end, and we'll see how it goes. But if you recall, just some background, the BLM in the partnership with the DOD awarded $600,000 contract to the RCHCA through the Recovery Sustainment Partnership Initiative to develop an SKR range-wide management and monitoring plan. The RCHCA then partnered with Conservation Biology Institute to coordinate and manage a working group of pretty much 30 different scientists, individuals, land managers, every expert that we could find to leverage their expertise and combine it with RCHCA's 2 decades of experience managing the species in order to identify solutions to various challenges associated with managing and monitoring SKR throughout its range, which has always been a very difficult thing to do. For example, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service provided operational support, and most importantly, they identified the metrics that they needed to see in order to identify whether the species is recovered. Primarily, they wanted to see effective population size across the range. The San Diego Zoo brought advanced genetics works to refine the previous research that we sponsored to develop the SKR translocation plan. They refined that genetic analysis in order to identify geographical population units. And then, of course, the RCHCA used this 2 decades of knowledge and experience to develop adaptive management strategies to provide techniques for managing SKR habitat on an ecosystem scale, where previously was done on a small scale that really didn't induce any kind of change in the overall population. What we developed over the last 2 decades is how do you manage across 3,000 acres, 6,000 acres, 10,000 acres, that kind of large scale management, and do it in a cost-effective way. There's not a whole lot of money for management for conserved lands, and our partner agencies and our partner landowners within this SKR reserve system really struggle with that in the past. So the RCHCA has really pioneered a lot of those efforts: targeted grazing, prescribed burning regimes, and advanced effective methods to stack those treatments together in order to achieve the overall goal of increasing the population size. That being said, this range-wide management and monitoring plan is really the first of its kind for SKR. Previously, if you didn't know, there were about 6 different smaller HCPs that covered SKR, from northern Riverside County here to San Diego County. There's various ways and different HCPs, all conserving SKR, but all pulling in separate directions. There were different monitoring strategies, different management strategies. Some were effective than others. What this plan, as you can imagine, took that disorganization and made people that were pulling in different directions all carry their own weight, but pull in the same direction to achieve recovery. The plan was intended to unify those various efforts and to protect SKR. It does this by standardizing those methods for SKR management and most monitoring, evaluates genetic diversity on both a fine and then that macro scale, coordinates resources across jurisdictions, provides a process to assess SKR recovery, which is most important. The plan has now been finalized, and the RCHCA is currently organizing the implementation phase of the plan. Recently, the BLM approved option year 2 of the $190,000 of the 4-year contract. We anticipate year 3 to also be approved to assist with the implementation phase of the plan, and that will require extensive monitoring throughout its range. The RCHCA is well positioned to lead this effort with 2 federally and state permitted SKR biologists on staff, including Harry Sandoval, which we'll speak later. The implementation group that we're forming and the RCHCA will continually look for further funding sources to support the project and conservation land management to ensure its success. The implementation group will focus on collaborating with scientists, land managers, researchers, landowners, and other stakeholders in order to coordinate the implementation of the plan in order to identify regional population status, trends, and conservation priorities to fully recover the species. This item is now a receive and file, and with that, I'll conclude my presentation and entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you, Brian. Do we have any questions or comments from the board?
Congratulations, great job.
And I see no hands raised.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. This is huge, this monitoring plan book, and I would suggest to the board members, if you've got some late nights and you can't sleep, pull it out and give it a little read. Princess Hester, our very own Princess Hester, wrote the foreword, and if you could just skim through it, I think it would help, especially any of those who are new, to become more familiar with the SKR. So thank you, Brian, and for all of those who put work in this.
It really is it's a good cookbook that kind of defines how to manage and monitor species. It's all in one place now, not to divide it up. And I think it will really move the ball forward and across the goalposts of species recovery. So
thank you. And you know, I did forget, do we have any public comments or questions on this?
No, ma'am, but Board Member Melendrez has raised his hand.
Okay,
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just really had a quick comment, Brian. Want to thank you so much for all the work that everyone has done in this. As you know, we have 1,400 acres of our Sycamore Canyon Wilderness Park where we have a KRAT, conservation in that area. Obviously, this will help not only this area, but all the other areas surrounding us. I know it's a tremendous amount of work, but thank you so much for all the work that everyone has done on this. Thank you, Madam.
yes, the last 2 decades and the 25 years that RCHCA in Riverside, I mean, just you guys have set this, I guess the stage to get this done and your expertise. So just thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, we will move on now to we're on 6E. So, or did we just do that one? Are we on, yeah, we're on 6E, right, Janice?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So we'll, because I saw Brian again, he's giving the
I'm
presentation.
here still.
Okay, all right. So with the status update on various tasks associated with the RCHCA contracted land management activities.
Okay, just a quick update. So next slide. Again, I'm Brian Shumo, and this is item 6E on the contracted land management and monitoring activities update. Just a quick idea. We talk about some of the revenue generated from the contractual agreements with the RCHCA. A lot of people approach us. They help them with their land management. This year, I mentioned before, Department of Interior, BLM, is awarding the $194,000 under the existing contract. It's option year 2. We anticipate option year 3 also for basically monitoring. And we're going to do a lot of monitoring going forward, which we normally did out of our own budget. This year we get paid by the BLM to do it. Mariposa Biology, this is for the El Sobrante Landfill, Waste Management, Inc. Again, we talked about this before. As they expand the landfill, they impact streams and creeks and whatnot. And the Army Corps of Engineers in the state don't allow any net loss of wetlands. So as they go and impact those areas, they have to conserve and restore other areas to provide that no net loss of wetlands. They've struggled to do that in the past. Some of our land management techniques are very successful doing that. So they previously contracted for 4 different sections with us last year. They have another 1/4 acre they want to do this year. So it's a small contract, but it's about $13,000 in revenue. And then Metropolitan Water District, this is 6,000 acres near Lake Matthews. The Water District contracts with us to manage their 6,000 acres and over 65 different species for under various tasks and biological and land management. And so that's about another $150,000 in revenue. Next slide. These 2 contracts are closing out. We completed those. We received the money for the NRCS grant. That was to remove a rundo and restore a stream north of Lake Elsinore above Lake Street, where all the poppy folks go. And then the California Conservation Corps, that was a large contract. We had several different projects under that, including one Harry will show you in the next upcoming presentation. But we've got a lot of various fire fuel reduction near residences around our conserved lands in order to protect homes. We got habitat restored with that, and all projects were completed on schedule and under budget. So that's about it. This is a receive and file, but I'm happy to have any questions, answer any questions.
Thank you, Brian. And so first of all, do we have any questions or comments from the public?
I have no requests.
Okay, thank you. And any board members?
I see no hands raised.
Okay, thank you, Brian, very much. Appreciate, those are great contracts. So we'll go to item F, Still Peak Public Access Plan. This presentation is by Rihanna Fisher and with an update on the plan. And so on Still Peak, so we'll turn it over to you, Rihanna.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hello, I'm Rihanna Fisher. I'm the program manager for our RCHCA, and I'll be presenting on item 6F, which is an update on our Still Peak Public Access Plan. Next slide, please. So as you may recall, we are in the planning phase for our first public access trail on RCHCA conserved lands at the Still Peak Reserve, which is located adjacent to the city of Paris in unincorporated Riverside County. Staff identified this area as being the best suited for the pilot public access plan because these lands are solely owned by RCHCA and because the community, which is largely underserved, would greatly benefit from the opportunity to experience and appreciate the natural environment that is being protected in the area. So in December, RCHCA was awarded a $600,000 grant from the California Natural Resources Agency to build the trail. We are currently in the process of obtaining a CEQA evaluation with Ruth Villalobos and Associates. Staff also held a site visit and tour of the Steel Peak inaugural trail in April to finalize seating and signage placement, as well as identify any direct and indirect impacts for CEQA. We are also collecting artifacts and information used in the interpretive signage along the trail that incorporates the area's mining and railroad history. Some of the historical information will be provided by fourth generation residents through interviews. The Steel Peak inaugural trail is still on schedule for completion in March 2022, and the updated final plan with the amenities can be found on our website. And that concludes my report on the Steel Peak Public Access Plan. This is a receive and file, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Rihanna. And first of all, Janice, do we have any public comments or questions?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. How about from the board?
Excellent, thank you.
And I
All
see
right.
no hands raised.
Okay, and I do have one question, Rihanna. Do we have an estimated time on the CEQA review? When it will be complete?
We're hoping, they said it about 6 months. So we're hoping in the next couple months for it to be completed.
Okay, so by our next meeting, we should know more. So
we should definitely know more, yeah, by the next board meeting.
All right, great, thank you. So thank you very much. We will move on to G, report on the RCHCA innovation. Is a presentation by Harry Sandoval and on the innovation practices developed and employed by the RCHCA to help with the land management monitoring with the SKR reserve system. So Harry, you're on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Harry Sandoval, Natural Resource Manager with the Riverside County Habitat Conservation Agency. Today, I just want to go over a kind of an innovative experimental process that we are working on here, and this is related to burrowing owls. So the burrowing owl in West is a covered species by the Western Riverside County Multiple Species Habitat Conservation Plan. And how that relates to us here at the Lake Matthews Estelle Mountain Reserve is that this reserve is actually a core reserve for the burrowing owl, which there's also some special survey requirements in the MSHCP for burrowing owls. Here at the Lake Matthews Reserve, the MSHCP states that we have to have 5 nesting pairs or 5 pairs of owls. Now, over time, we've had kind of trouble maintaining those pairs or those 5 pairs here, and not only here, but pretty much reserve-wide and the system-wide in the MSHCP area. It's kind of problematic. The species is a little bit finicky. Here at Lake Matthews, over time, we've installed some artificial burrows to try to attract the burrowing owls and provide them housing. We've also tried to have a relocation program here so that we would bring in owls that are relocated from other areas. Unfortunately, we've had some issues, and again, this is not very specific to Lake Matthews. Some of these issues occur in other reserves as well, or in many reserves within the MSHCP system here. Some of the issues we have here is that we cannot retain owls. They either don't come naturally or they just don't stay. And the ones that do stay, they have a lot of pressure. They have a lot of predation pressure. And for us specifically, predation occurs from what we call corvids, ravens, and crows. So we've developed here this experimental model, and you could see in the photo here that we've created some decoys, and these decoys actually have the ability to protect themselves as well. So I'll get into that a little bit here. These are actually decoys that one of our staff members here, Scott Curry, he actually carved these from clay, and then we cast these in a soft foam so that the idea was to cast them in a soft foam so that they could actually be bitten or attacked and feel kind of realistic to crows and ravens. And what's special about this is that, about these decoys, I should say, is that they have the ability to defend themselves. They will deploy a chemical irritant whenever they are attacked. And in one of the next slides here, we'll see what they look like out in the field. But this is a this, I don't know what to call it, a contraption here is that we put together using parts from Amazon. There is a pump from a car's windshield wiper fluid. There's an electronic micro switch which completes a circuit, and it's all on a spring-loaded base. So this owl could be attacked repeatedly, and it will continue to spray this this chemical. Now, we are considerate about the environment, and we also don't want to harm these crows and ravens too much. So the chemical that we're using is actually very safe. It's a common product used in foods. It smells really nice because it's actually the main component of grape Kool-Aid. We looked for various types of chemicals that would help deter crows and ravens. And first we thought pepper spray would work because it seems to work on everything else, but turns out that most birds don't have the chemical receptors that allow them to feel anything when pepper sprayed. So they do respond quite negatively to this grape kind of formula that we have here. And the idea of this is that ravens and crows are very intelligent animals. They also, other studies have shown that they will transfer information between their groups and they will teach their young. So the idea here is to get them habituated to leave burrowing owls alone. So once they get sprayed with this chemical, we hope that they will teach the others in their flocks and teach their young to leave burrowing owls alone. So again, two parts to this: the decoys will bring in the owls, and the chemical irritant will hopefully protect them and teach the crows to leave them alone, so that we can have successful colony establishment. Next slide, please. And here's a shot of one of our burrowing owl decoys out in the field. So that's all that you would see. In this picture here, you can see that the owl is standing in front of one of the artificial burrows that is here at Lake Matthews. So this is an experimental process, but we really hope that this will have a great regional impact and maybe even beyond our region to successfully establish colonies and protect burrowing owls. The next step for us is, again, since this is experimental and we are harassing a native species in the crows and the ravens, we have to get certain permissions before we go in full out deployment. So we are going to approach the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife to get any approvals or permits. So great project. We hope it's successful, and we'll keep you updated on what happens with it. That concludes this presentation. I'll go ahead and answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Harry. So first of all, do we have any questions from the public or comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And do we have any questions or comments from any of the board members? Goodbye, Mayor Vargas.
Board Member Hewitt has his hand raised.
Okay, Supervisor Hewitt.
So Harry, I take it you're employing Pavlov techniques to try to train nature's smartest bird, the crow.
Right.
That's gonna, it's gonna pass this down through generations.
Right. We know that they're very intelligent and they're prolific predators, not just in Western Riverside County, but now we're hearing stories that they're predating upon full-grown adult desert tortoises and whatnot. So they're pretty prolific, and they learn to recognize vehicles and even individual people that go out to harass them. So we want to associate the burrowing owl with this chemical, or we want them to associate the chemical with the burrowing owl, so that way there's no human interaction. And yeah, the hope is that they do pass this along and learn that burrowing owl is no longer good food.
At least in the Lake Matthews area.
Right. And we're hoping it should have a larger regional effect. And hopefully, if it's successful, maybe other land managers or other agencies can adopt this and use it to establish colonies as well.
If crows had opposable thumbs, we'd be working for them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just to put this into context too, like the region, Western Riverside is required to have 60 pair of owls under the MSHCP. And once they achieve that goal, then certain developmental burdens on developers to do surveys for burrowing owls goes away. So it's a cost savings to development projects within our region as well. It's just very difficult for, Harry didn't get into numbers, but just real quick, we had one pair of owls out here maybe 7-8 years ago. They bred and produced about 5 young each year, and some of them get killed, but we went up to about 17 owls at Lake Matthews. Those owls were very successful. We then performed a translocation project in partnership with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, CDFW, and the RCA. They brought 6 pairs of owls out here. They had babies. They pulled the hacking enclosures, and at one point we had 59 owls out at Lake Matthews. The ravens instantly moved in because we have a large landfill next to us. They decimated that population of owls within a matter of weeks. They were pulling babies out of the tunnels and faster than they can run in. And so it's a big problem in Western Riverside, the ravens predating on burrowing owls. It's something that we're required to conserve and have 60 of those breeding pair, and we really struggled to get that. So as Harry said, if it works here, it should work everywhere. And so that's what he's going to try to attempt to do, is to haze them at Lake Matthews and then spread the love to other land managers conserving burrowing owls.
Okay.
Thank you, Harry.
Any more, Supervisor? Any more questions?
No, this should be interesting. I'm really, really interested to see how this comes out, because we might be able to apply that same stuff to the people that are giving some of these arbitrary numbers that we have to follow.
So I just have clarification. Thank you for that comment, Supervisor. I just have clarification. 60 or 6 pairs? 60 or 6?
I believe it's 60 in Western Riverside. In Lake Matthews, we have to have 5 pair. We're required to have 5 pair in this core reserve. And there's other stipulations. You can't have all your eggs in one, to use a cliche, you can't have all your eggs in one basket. You can't have all 60 pair at Lake Matthews or at Lake Paris or wherever. They have to be evenly distributed throughout the Western Riverside plan area. So it's a difficult thing to achieve and difficult thing to count, actually.
I'll have to let you, I don't know if you want to know. I mean, I see them in the city of Menifee in different areas all the time.
The city of Menifee has an abundance of owls. You also have an abundance of development. And where we got those 6 pair of owls that were translocated out here years ago was from a Rite Aid project. I believe it was near Scott Road. It was in Menifee. And so you have a lot. And there's some out by the Hemet Airport and the Ryan Airfield and whatnot. There's some right below. There's a trail behind the, was it Railroad Canyon? There's a trail up there, a bike trail right behind the shopping center in the flood control channel. And there's dozens of them in there. And to my knowledge, nobody counts those because they're not on conserved lands.
Oh,
just as I said, even counting them is kind of a goofy way to do it. We have to have 60 pair on conserved lands. And they are not on conserved lands. They're everywhere else but conserved lands. So.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for that. That is very interesting. I agree with Supervisor Hewitt. I'm anxious to see how this goes. So did I already ask, did we have any questions? Are we done with that?
Well, Director Morabito had his hand raised earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just a comment of, part was like saying, hey, have you guys tried white vinegar? That works with cats. But the other was, it'd be great also, as the other board members have mentioned, to see how this works, because trying to persuade nature like that, I mean, good thing it's not a betting window, because I'd probably bet on nature ignoring us, but good luck to us.
Thanks. There have been other studies. The chemical used is a real common chemical used in deterring birds. The method of using the decoys has been tried with other species. So we're hoping it is successful. We've done some trial runs in our models. Our decoys are so anatomically correct that they have other burrowing owls, real burrowing owls have expressed interest in them already. So we have high hopes.
Okay. All right. Well, great. We'll do a receive and file on this. If there's no more other comments, Janice, do you see any more?
I see no other requests.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for your comments, and thank you Brian and Harry for trying. And who was the staff member that created the owl?
That was Scott Curry. He's our open space habitat technician. And he's also the person who designed the shadow boxes that went out and the agency's current patch as well. So he's our resident artist.
Great. Well, just tell him thank you from the board for his what he's doing. Okay, we're going to move now to H, Stephen Kangaroo Rat Reserve Management and Monitoring Efforts. Again, Harry Sandoval, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Okay, so just updates on reserve management and monitoring. Next slide. So recently here we hosted a CAL FIRE investigators course, and this was mutually beneficial for everyone involved. CAL FIRE gets much needed training. They get to learn about wildland fire points of ignition, how fire spreads. For the RCHCA, it's very beneficial in that we get essentially some free management out of the deal. Very important this year too, because our management options are kind of limited because of the amount of rainfall that we received. We weren't able to graze this year. There wasn't enough material for grazing, but there was still enough material for burning. So this really helped out. And we also had a controlled burn kind of in correlation with this. So altogether this year, we've burned about 120 acres. So everything went really well. Nothing got out of control. There was a lot of preparation work that went into this so that we could save all the special species and habitats that we don't want to get burned, but everything went really well. So next slide, please. We've continued to use our unmanned aerial vehicle, and this was one of the innovations that we came up with a few years ago. This year, we mapped about approximately 450 acres of land within the Lake Matthews and Estelle Mountain Reserve. And we do this mostly to keep track of stinknet. And I'm sure we've gone over stinknet here a few times before in past meetings. And we know it's a major issue. And now that we've been using the monitoring system, or we've implemented our monitoring system for about 4 or 5 years now, we're starting to see trends in how stinknet is spreading and moving around the reserve. And we're now we feel we could make some progress with it here. And you could see in the animation below in the map there, how stinknet is kind of progressing and moving around. So we're finding that stinknet, the actual density of the plant, or the area in which is the area, the numbers in the areas are getting less dense, but it's getting more widespread. So you see the large green polygons there disappear between 2018 and 2020, but you see that the red points get more widespread throughout the reserve. So we have less plant density, it's just more sporadic and spread through a wider geographic area. So we're making some progress with it. It's just a little harder to keep up with it. Next slide, please. This year, as Brian mentioned earlier, we received a greenhouse gas reduction fund as part of the CCC program. So we had the CCC crews out here, and they removed approximately 200 cubic yards of green waste that was dumped into a drainage on RCHCA property. Now, the dumping had occurred here for about 25 to 30 years from what we can tell. And that was a lot of material that came out of there. In fact, the dump truck in the picture there holds about 12 to 14 yards, and it was about 20 truckloads of that was moved out. So there was a lot of material there. The green waste was actually piled maybe 12 feet high in a drainage about 600 feet long. So the CCCs did a good job of taking all that material out and cleaning up the area. And once that cleaning was complete, they restored the site by planting native shrubs and trees and installing an irrigation system. So you could see on the photo on the right there, we're hoping to mimic that landscape. So hopefully in about 10 or 15 years, we're going to have a nice, lush, native landscape again, instead of a drainage filled with debris there. So that was a really good project that we got from that. Mowing is One of the important things that we do here at the Lake Matthews Reserve for the benefit of the SKR, so we do a lot of grassland management. This year so far, we've done about 50 acres of mowing, and we will continue to mow as long as conditions stay safe. We don't want to ignite any fires or cut too late when it's not beneficial to get rid of our seeds. So we want to maintain a good level of grass height, and also try to limit the amount of thatch that we have for the benefit of SKR. And finally, we did some coordination with Southern California Edison. And now Southern California Edison, in an effort to be better neighbors and have a better understanding with land managers in the area, has created a geodatabase. And that geodatabase contains reserved, conserved lands, sensitive lands, and also the contact information for land managers. Edison got in a little bit of trouble for some issues that they had when they were working in their right-of-ways and sometimes in conserved lands. So what we did to help out is we provided some GIS information for them. We also are going to be acting as kind of the liaison between Southern California Edison and land managers in the SKR reserve system, so that we have a better understanding of what Edison is doing, and we avoid any kind of issues in the future as to where Edison is going or what they're doing, and that way we are prepared and can coordinate better with them. So that's a great effort by Southern California Edison. They're going to be coming to our reserve managers coordinating committee and putting on a presentation for all the land managers in the reserve system as well. And I believe, next slide, I believe that is it. I will take any questions if there are any questions on anything I presented.
Thank you, Harry. Do we have any questions or comments from the public, Janet?
No, ma'am.
Okay, how about from the board of directors?
I only have one question, and that is, do we know of any times that Edison has had to shut down any of their power lines over reserve?
Not over the reserve that we are aware of. I know WRCOG does kind of have a system where they know when there's shutdowns, but not specifically related to reserves. And the problem in the past has been that Southern California Edison just has not known who to contact when they are working in reserves. So this system should help us be better aware of what's going on and be aware of things such as shutoffs or whenever maintenance or emergency repairs need to be done.
Yeah, it definitely will.
Harry, this is Chris Gray for everyone. Mayor Edwards, it's my understanding that a lot of the shutdowns Edison has been invoking, or I'm sorry, has been when they've had to shut down their power lines. It's primarily Rupa Valley, and kind of the area east of the 15, north of the 91. That's one area that has gotten quite a few of these public safety shutdowns. We have through our CCA, Western Community Energy, put information out when we know about public safety shutdowns. I'm certainly not aware of it, but Harry, perhaps we could just double check with Edison, and if there have been times when you've had shutdowns or we anticipate shutdowns, we can notify the board of that.
Sure.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Marianne. And any more comments or questions from the board?
I believe Supervisor Hewitt has a question.
Thank you, Supervisor Hewitt.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Harry again. Recently I attended one of those controlled burns. It was a 100-acre controlled burn out near Lake Paris. Did that have anything to do with the SKR or not?
I believe, if I remember correctly, that was conducted with state parks, and yes, that should have been at the Lake Paris Reserve. So yes, that probably had to do with well, yes, it had to do with SPR amongst other species as well. Yes.
Yeah, they did a good job. There was some sensitive areas. They called an eyebrow, a long area along the demarcated areas. So it was interesting to watch that. I think everybody, if they get a chance to get out there to watch, it's quite a process.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, there will be another one coming up this week. So they burned half of that. Anticipated there's about 540 acres that they're going to burn at the Lake Paris State Park. They burned half that last week, and then another half I think will go next week. So yeah, that was for SKR benefit and to reduce distinct net abundance within that park.
without getting in too much trouble, if any of the board members would like to see that, and this is really something to understand, because you deal with, a lot of you have wildfire interface and stuff like that. You might check that out, and I would say get a hold of CAL FIRE through the chief or whatever, and see if you could get out there and watch it. It's pretty cool.
Well, and on another note, we're helping them provide training for their CAL FIRE firefighters. So it's a great partnership.
Well, it's more than just CAL FIRE. There was about 4 or 5 other departments that were out there, some from San Bernardino County too.
I was just going to mention that fire at usually here at Lake Matthews, but again, we didn't get a whole lot of vegetation growth. Lake Paris has gone without a fire for several years now, so they had a lot of thatch density. So they moved to the 234 class, CAL FIRE's 234 class, out to, it trains new firemen out to Lake Paris this year. And so it's a great opportunity to see different strategies, different attack methods for fire suppression, as well as T&E species habitat enhancement. So if you can get out there, normally we invite all the fire departments from cities and county and Morongo Indians, all of them from around the area are invited to that 234 class.
Great. Okay, wonderful information. And I'm just always amazed, before we turn it over to our interim general manager, I should say, that the small group that the RCHCA has, and the amount of work you guys do is just amazing. And and you guys should be commended for it. So just thank you for that. So at this time, we're going to go to item 7. And I'd like to, if you haven't already met, Chris Gray, he's our interim general manager for WRCOG.
Thank you. Welcome. Good afternoon, members of the board. I want to update you on some staffing changes we're making regarding the RCA. You all know Princess Hester and appreciate her enthusiasm, dedicated energy. Recognizing her potential, I've asked Princess to take on a greater responsibility within WRCOG. She'll be serving as WRCOG's Director of Administrative Services. We unofficially call her the Director of Happiness. I've asked her to take on that responsibility so she can provide support to both RCHCA and WRCOG staff, allowing more of the staff here to benefit from her talents. Because of that change, Brian Shomo will be taking on some greater responsibilities as the Director of RCHCA. He'll be responsible for all of RCHCA's activities, overseeing both the fieldwork and administrative functions. I'm sure all know Brian well and appreciate his knowledge, dedicated, and passion he brings to RCHCA. To assist Brian, as we mentioned, we'll be promoting Brianna Fisher to be our administrative manager. And so I just want to take a second and please join me in congratulating them all for taking on these new roles and responsibilities.
Yes, everyone.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Congratulations to all of you.
Brian, you're going to have to buy some more ties.
Seriously, they drag me out of the field 4 times a year, and now I have to, oversee these 2 departments, and it's.
I know.
Just to say one thing real quick, but Princess and I came on board together 15 years ago or so. I mean, we got married.
I remember.
Oh yeah, you were there. It was like me and Princess have grown up together. Really, we got married at the same time. Came to the RCHCA and within 3 months of each other, and really have watched this program grow over the years. And I won't put word in her mouth, but she's our right-hand person. It's like I'm losing my buddy. She's going off to bigger and better things, and so I'm really happy for her. But at the same time, it's taking on some of her responsibilities. These were 2 different departments. Taking on her responsibilities is, kind of scary and exciting at the same time. And I wish her, she's going to do great things for WRCOG as well.
That's wonderful. And they don't call her Princess for nothing.
Exactly.
Guys, I'm just, I'm just so excited. And like Brian said, wow, like it's been 15 years. And, when I think I started here as the accountant, and that's what I was doing. And I had no idea that working for this agency would actually become some of my life's greatest work. And I realized that really what makes that possible is the people, and people like you. I definitely want to thank you for all of your dedication and your support. I didn't realize how hard your job was, until we especially came through COVID, and I witnessed how each of you stood up to manage your cities, under this whole pandemic. And, that just demonstrated like the tenacity and the strength that all of you have. And that you actually give to your staff members like me. And so I'm just really happy that you've empowered us over the years. Without your support, I mean, there is no way that we would have been able to accomplish some of the things that we've done. And you've allowed us to be that, out of the box, cutting edge agent for change. I remember when, and a lot of you, especially like Andy, Marianne, and Steve, when we even talked about bringing sheep, and Brian was talking about bringing sheep to the reserve, I think we even had to have a special meeting.
I remember.
to quiet folks, in regards to doing that. And then you look at it now, and it's a practice that is done throughout the reserve system. And I see that also being with this range-wide management and monitoring. We had no idea how all these pieces come together. And so I just really thank you. I want to thank you definitely for allowing me to be my best for this agency. I know you guys are in great hands with Brian and the team. And so we're all looking forward to our next chapter. In 2019, we came up with a slogan of #What's Next. And so, # What's Next for all of us. And so I'm just really excited. And I want to really tell you how much I appreciate you and how much I thank you for, helping me grow in this career. So thank you very much.
And Princess, I could just add, she's not actually leaving. She's in the same office she currently is. She's just going to take on some more responsibilities. So Princess is still here. She's still here to support the RCHCA. I just want her to, I'm a firm believer in highest and best use of someone's talents, and Princess is extremely talented. So, I want to put her to the highest and best use of her talents, and this is her calling right now. So I also want to thank you for allowing us to do that.
Great, wonderful. So a lot of changes. So anything else, Chris?
Just the general announcements, the future forward. I'm sorry, you may have items for future agendas, but I'll just skip ahead to the future forward. As Princess said, the future forward is going to be on Thursday, May 27th from 9 to 10. We have a great panel with Princess, Brian, Edie Allen, and some others to talk about conservation. And I'm hoping you can all join us.
Great, wonderful. Does anyone have any questions for Chris at this time? Any comments? Or for Brian or Princess, anybody want to say anything? I did see a little bit in the chat. Congratulations. There were some congratulations in the chat.
I just want to make sure Princess can go to Sacramento with Brian and I and whoever else decides to go.
Of course, Mayor Edwards, she can go to Sacramento.
All right.
I don't know if she'll be working, but she's welcome to go to Sacramento anytime.
Hey, she is a fun date no matter what.
Yes, we had a great time in DC. So
isn't it? It's really fun.
And she just knows the plan. It's a privilege to be in a room like when she's talking to Calvert or whoever. It was just a privilege to be there. So I was impressed. So I wish you all congratulations and luck in your new positions. So we'll move forward, right? So, okay, we're going to move now to item 8, future agenda items. Any requests for future agenda items? Okay, hearing none. Any general announcements? Does any board member have a general announcement?
Nope.
Okay, I see a chat, Princess Rock, so just add that. Our next meeting, I don't know if we need a discussion on it or what's going to happen, but the next board meeting right now is scheduled for September 16th at 11:30. That will happen, but the Zoom platform or board members will have an option to attend in the meeting in person. I hope that we'll be able to meet in person. As I mentioned before the meeting started, I've heard there might be some restrictions due to the Brown Act doing Zoom and such. So we'll wait to hear on that. So if I don't hear anything else from anyone.
Well, September 16th is Mexican Independence Day, so remember that.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing that. We'll remember that, Supervisor. Well, you all have a wonderful day. Remember, coming up on our Conservation Day that's going to be coming up in a few days, make sure you share the information or the Facebook page, go on and like it. And everyone have a just wonderful, wonderful day and keep those SKRs safe.
Thank you, Lisa. Congratulations, you guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.